Welcome everyone to this Privacy Rules Privacy Espresso. Today I'm joined by Volker Wodianka from the firm Wodianka Privacy Legal. We are going to speak about the Whistleblowing Directive, EU Directive, that is going to be implemented country by country as a directive. But I would like to hear a bit more about this. So Volker, I would like to turn it over with you and asking you in particular, what is the Whistleblowing Directive? What are we talking about?
Yeah, thank you very much, Alessandro. The Whistleblower Directive, in short, is a new law that protects whistleblower as such. No, I think we heard a lot about cases from the US that are quite prominent concerning Facebook, was the latest. And I think every national legislation has quite some law to protect whistleblower. But it's actually something in the employment law, and it's not really a good protection. And I hear a lot about compliance officer that tell me they don't receive too much messages, in terms of breaches of the law in the company. So I think this directive will give the topic of whistleblowing like a new drive. As it's a directive, it needs to be transposed into national law. And it reminds me a little bit of course, the time of the GDPR, when the new data protection law came into force. Again, it was 2 years before it was really in force published, and the Whistleblower Directive has always also been published in 2019 and be in force in December this year. But still, I think we need to check how's the status in the different countries. The idea is really to provide a channel, not only for employees, that's important. It's open for also service providers, for contractors. It's not really about your own employees, but also for other parties. And the idea is, of course, to have a good whistleblowing channel that sets you into the position as a company to know first, so that whistleblowers can come to you in a confidential, maybe also an anonymous way, and report breaches against EU law or national law in a way that they feel that they don't have any disadvantages. So protection against repression, as you see here in the article, is one of the main aspects of the Whistleblowing Directive.
Okay, perfect. That was really interesting. Thanks for this introduction. And during the introduction, you mentioned the fact that as a directive, this has to be transposed country by country. So can you update us a bit on which is the stage of this transposition of the directive?
Yes, sure. As I already put here in the slide, we have Denmark and Sweden at the moment as two countries that have already national whistleblowing laws, new laws, transposed the requirements from the directive into their national law. There are many countries that are on the way to have a national whistleblowing law. Here in Germany, where we are based, we already saw a first draft, but it did not pass. And as we have a new coalition contract here, it says, yes, they're going to pick up again this topic. And there are many countries that are in this process. And it's also expected that many countries will not meet the deadline of the 17th of December this year. Which opens, all these very complicated questions about the direct effects of a directive that it has not been transposed. But actually, to make it short, from the European law perspective, it's not expected that there's a direct effect. So the national law needs to be there until you can have direct rights from this directive. So. But it's a matter of time, and I think when it's in the news before Christmas, many people are gonna ask companies, what is the status? Do we have a channel? How can I report that? Or if it's not there, I think it's not a good policy. Maybe a short nice website that we found here. I mean, we give webinars on that also with a software partner. but there's a very informative website that I wanted to show you, which is the EU Whistleblowing Monitor. We're not connected with this, but I think it's very useful. And there you see country by country the status of transposition. And of course, there are also countries, it's Cyprus and 2 or 3 others that even did not start. But I think it's a matter of time, and yeah, it's time.
Yeah, it's definitely time, because as you said, the deadline was set for December
17th. Yeah,
so we are already there. And no, thanks for this, Volker, extremely useful. And you know, speaking about the directive and its, let's say, the practical side of these, are there, you know, solutions to make this possible and to keep whistleblowers safe?
Yes, there are solutions. Or also to wrap it up here, you see what is important for the channel. You have to check how many employees do you have, what is the obligation, and the directive says you have to implement that when you have more than 50 employees until this year. When you have more employees, there's also a deadline, and also one between 50 and 249 employees. But that's a little bit up to the national transposition. What is important, many companies already had kind of whistleblowing channels. They provided email addresses, they provided telephone numbers, external telephone numbers at law firms and so forth, to enable people to report something. As I said, to my knowledge, this often didn't work out, because also an email address is not really confidential, not even the process of sending an email. It's not encrypted, and of course you have an address. So the same applies to a telephone number. When it's an external channel, of course you need to kind of trust this person or this law firm, that they handle it properly and that they safeguard your identity, and maybe you do not want to unveil your identity. So what the whistleblowing directive says is you must provide a system that must allow written and or oral reporting, physical meeting at whistleblowers' request in case of an oral reporting channel. You see also a solution that we found on our website, with a software solution, which comes from one of the first countries where the national law has been implemented, a Danish company called Whistleblower Software, where we partnered up with and provide this with extra data protection and documentation on top as a service. But I think that's important. What IT platforms do, rather than pure channels like email or telephone, is that you can, of course, more easily give feedback, and you need to do that. There are 2 important topics there, because you have to confirm a report within 7 days to the whistleblower. So you need to communicate back to the whistleblower, and again give feedback after 3 months. So this is something that you need to do again in a confidential, and maybe give also anonymous access to that person. And IT platforms are, of course, capable to provide that, in terms of you can access a platform. You do not need to unveil your identity, and just receive a code where you can again log in with and see the status of the report. And there can be then messages for you that show you the status. I know it's an espresso, so the timer popped up. To make it short, that's, I think, our recommendation, to look for a proper IT platform rather than only rely on telephone or email. And of course, the best solution is the one where you then really receive information as a company, in order to react first, and not that people go outside, go to the press or to authorities, because that's also their right, and it's written, and it's going to be known by a whistleblower that they can directly also go to an authority, and that's what a company would, of course, not like very much.
Absolutely, Volker, you're totally right. I would say that the easier and the safer, the better for everyone, probably. So very good to have tools that, you know, basically protect both the sides in this kind of cases. So it's a win-win solution, let's say. So thanks very much for this brief update and clarification and information. Extremely practical and useful espresso. Thanks for your time. Thanks to our listeners for being with us. and looking forward to meet you all to our next Privacy Espresso. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Alessandro.